Are you ready?
Good news, everyone!
I'm the surprise in your cereal box. I'm
great! Everybody else sucks!
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's Ciely.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me.
That's right! You're always blaming me!
So, my reputation exceeds me.
It's time to check the link.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list!
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn!
What is up, you ducks? I don't know how you can't be smiling. I go smiling that for the rest of my life, that song. Mega Man 2, Dr. Wily's Fortress. I have the Mega Man shirt on today, Chris. The rankings for Week 2 fantasy football rankings include the top 15 Mega Man bosses of all time. It is Mega Man week. A lot of Mega Man stuff going on. There's Mega Man back up there. He's over here. It's Mega Man week on All in Football on FTN.
Mega Man week. Mega Man day.
Mega Man Day, Mega Man everything. Reminder, I'll tell you how to join the Xbox giveaway. A lot of entries already so far. A lot of you are listening to the instructions. I'll repeat them again one more time today as we get closer to the drawing. But we are talking Week 2 rankings. If you want to check out FTN, code ALLIN, get you 20% off. And The Athletic. Hey, go to the rankings. Go to the waivers, which the waivers have been... Oh, we got dogs playing in the background. And squeaky toy.
It's like, wow, when did you get a kid? Whoa.
No, I know, right?
It's like it sounded like a baby in the background.
You don't get that toy. I am watching the fiance's dog while she is in Montana for her brother's wedding. I was going to try and go to that, but the ticket price is like, it was only going to be $1,800 to fly to Montana, but it's just because, yeah.
Wild.
It's crazy. All of our family got there, and they doubled the population of Montana. It was insane.
Shots fired. Yeah, that's not cheap, man, to fly. I thought, like, it's actually cheaper for me in Canada to fly to the States, like probably go to Montana, as opposed to go to, like, Alberta, which is, like, right north of it, Calgary, Edmonton. It's just, flights are ridiculous these days, man. And the wait times, you have stories for days on things that
I mean, yeah, I'm probably cursed more than anybody in the world when it comes down to it. And that's the other reason that my only option coming back was leave Sunday at 2:30 and then get back home at 11 o'clock on Sunday. So if there was one delay, like, screwed work-wise. So I'm just like, I don't want to really risk it. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about flights or dogs playing. Like, now they're both standing here right next to me. Let's see if we can get Barkley. No, there's Barkley. Let's see if we can get Coda on screen. This is Coda. This is the fiance's dog. Who looks a lot. There's Barkley too.
Nice.
Yep. See, there they are. Okay, go play.
They're probably having a blast. Yeah.
They are.
Day for you.
Okay. All right. So, let's go. Running backs, right off the jump. Waivers ran for the few leagues where Jeff Wilson was still lingering out there, including the flex super flex, which is part of the reason that he was lingering out there. To give you an example, I know Jeff Ratcliffe, your boy over at FTN, probably running circles and laughing because he went for $30. 29 was the second bid. I had 28 as the third bid. So not only did he beat one person by $1, he beat me by 2. So, like, that's the best feeling in the world. But Jeff Wilson, as a starter, Chris, is he a must start? I have him inside my top 20. I don't see how he's not.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think I have him right there as well. I may even have him like 2 spots higher. Again, Shanahan and all these situations, and he could throw us a loop, and he probably will multiple times this season, but I can't see how he's not either. He was active. He was clearly the number 2, and they just have a couple other moving pieces there that may get some touches, but I think they're going to go with the veteran in Wilson. But don't be surprised, like, this guy gets, vultured for touchdowns, whether it's Debo or Trey Lance, but I feel like he touches the ball 15 times. He's probably not a big pass catcher, no? But he should carry the ball at least 15 times.
Right. So that's the thing, is Jeff Wilson is basically Elijah Mitchell now. Like, I wasn't concerned so much about the passing game because what do we know about Shanahan? Forget the, like, Shanahanigans. What do we know about once he's settled in is he uses players in roles. Elijah Mitchell was the rusher, and then he had somebody else catching passes. In the past, similar situations, Tevin Coleman and Devonta Freeman had roles back in the day with the Falcons. It was like, you do your role. there's sometimes a little crossover. So Jeff Wilson, as you just mentioned, my only concern is the same as Elijah Mitchell, is that Trey Lance or Debo usurps him at the goal line and grabs a touchdown, but still should get 15-plus carries minimum. Mitchell looked good before getting hurt, even in that slop. So I think the difference is if we didn't have Lance or Debo as a factor of taking the touchdown, you could argue he's an RB1. Here's the question behind it. We talked waivers yesterday. If it was you, because I want to get your opinion. Lauren and I already talked about it. Go watch yesterday's show. Subscribe, by the way. That's part of the Xbox giveaway. But would you go Davis Price or Mason? I'm going Davis Price because Matt Barrows for The Athletic kept saying that he's the long-term plan. He's not ready yet, but he's built and the stylistically fits what they want, similar to Elijah Mitchell. And he's better built than Elijah Mitchell, but he's not ready yet. So I'm kind of playing the long game, even though I think Jordan Mason might be a little bit more active to start. Yeah,
well, I think you said it perfectly. I think if you could be patient with your roster, you don't really need a running back. I would go Davis Price. I drafted him in a couple spots. I cut my ties with him in a couple spots earlier than I would like to, knowing that Mitchell was dealing with an injury. But, I do have Mason, and I got him pretty cheap. Everybody was going on Wilson, and then, a couple other running backs there. And, $1 basically. He kind of went under the radar. I think he could be sneaky. But I do believe the long-term play is Davis Price. Yeah, I mean, third-round pick, right? I know that they took Trey Sermon in the third round a couple years ago, and that didn't work out. But maybe they get it right this time. There's lots of running backs that were drafted in the third round over the years that didn't work out.
There's a lot of running backs in the first round that didn't pan out. So.
Absolutely, for sure. But, yeah, I think he's the long-term play. But it doesn't – the reason it's a long-term play, I mean, he wasn't even active, right? He was behind Mason in that first game, so that's kind of how
Well, there was talk that was special teams related, is that Davis Price can't and Mason can play special teams. So
and
I think that's part of it, too.
I mean –
I gotta guess some of the questions that kind of help everybody to try to do anything too much specific, but I laughed at Jiggles. Not screwed, but we'd all enjoy Tired Jake for a super callback. That's a huge callback to when drunk.
Ingram.
I don't drink, so I don't get drunk. But if you ever want a drunk Jay, get me on No Sleep. I was talking. They're throwing out Evan Ingram's name when nobody's talking about it.
He's a PN. I thought Jake was drunk. We thought he was hammered doing a show. We thought this guy was just. You were completely out of it. I don't know if you slept for like 3 or 4 days. I think you were doing some traveling and things like that. You're just randomly just dropping names. Evan Ingram. I forget. I wish we could go back and find that. Like, that is prime time.
We had Pizza Pia had the clip and then we lost it. It was.
Joe's like, what are you talking about? Evan Ingram. Like, what is
They dropped it in an intro one day. It's like part of it just. But all right, let's talk about the Ravens backfield. So there's a chance Dobbins can return. This feels like this is an easy answer if Dobbins doesn't. Drake already took over. Like Davis dropped. Drake, Dobbins, and Drake. Or Davis. They're the 3Ds back here. So Drake's already taken over. So it's just start Drake. As in low-end RB2, probably flex because he's Drake. And because... But if Dobbins is back... Do you start Dobbins over Drake? Do you still go Drake for one more week until we see Dobbins? What if Dobbins pulls a Cam Akers where it's not even like... He's in the doghouse, but he only gets 3 or 4 or 5 carries because he's not 100% yet. What do you do this week if Dobbins is active? This is Wednesday. I'll update the ranks on the site. Everybody can continue all the way up to kickoff on Sunday. So, but being now Wednesday, what would you do?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm a Dobbins owner, and I just hope he doesn't play. Like, just take another week and sit out, honestly. It'd make my life easier, and I think it'd be better long-term for J.K. Dobbins. I think I would play Drake. If Dobbins was active, I think I would play Kenyon Drake. I still have that, that image of his video, the practice reports and limping afterwards. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. And if he's active, he's not going to be full go. I mean, I'm speculating, but I have a pretty good idea that he wouldn't be full go. Drake looked okay. It surprised me that he was getting those touches over Mike Davis. Davis was hanging around for a little bit. They just signed Kenyon Drake, and I think he's going to keep the role.
People told me I was dumb. I sat here, I was like, well, that was fun for Mike Davis. It's over. And people were like, oh, it's not over yet. I was like, oh.
He's the most dropped in Yahoo as of, I looked this morning, and for leagues that have run, I know not all leagues, have waivers at, Wednesday morning, some tomorrow morning, but he's the most dropped player, and I agree with it. I have a couple shares of Dobbins. I had Davis on my squad thinking I would play this guy, and Dobbins didn't play, and he gave me 1 point. So that's it, man. I I don't think I would play Dobbins if he was active, and I'd feel a little bit worse about Kenyon Drake.
I honestly don't want him to
flex appeal.
Yeah. Mr. Nice Guy, yeah, I did. I said, look for Dobbins in a trade. I said I don't want to really start Dobbins, hopefully, until week 4. Hopefully don't need to. I wanted to play the long game like Barkley last year.
Buy low.
He is. Oh, man. Matthew DuPont, love you, dude. You're a loyal viewer, but holy crap. Marlon Mack. There's a problem with Marlon Mack. I've said this before. He's not any good. Like, stop. Why? Like, I have never seen and I know Matthew's not saying this, but I have never seen such a fascination with a dude who has bounced around teams, who's not any good, who's replacement level, and anytime this guy is anywhere, people are like, Marlon Mack, What is, you would think he's LaDainian F. Tomlinson.
Yeah, I don't know. Good guy, Marlon Mack. Maybe he's a community guy, picking him up for the wrong reasons. I mean, he got cut from the Texans, brought back to the practice squad, and then was let go again. So, I'm not coming from Matt. It's just I said that because I actually saw that in waivers. I saw it in my rankings. Matt's a loyal viewer, and he knows he can appreciate the sarcasm, unlike the person yesterday who had 500 options in his league to pick up. And I saw the jokes to start the show, guys. That was actually pretty funny. I appreciate everybody out there with that. But let's talk about the Texans. Thank you for the segue, Chris. Rex Burkhead ruining Dameon Pierce's lives in week 1, and then we get talk that from the coaching staff and Lovie Smith that similar to Cam Akers, kind of doghousey talk. Like, he needs to do this. We need to see more in this. We would like to see more in this. We can give him more touches when we see this. Blah, 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 blah. Coach speaks, coach speak, coach speak. But that being said, the upside of Pierce was a 50-50 split of Burkhead because everybody really expected Burkhead to still get third down work. The third and long, third down, that kind of pass catching opportunities. But the problem was, it was like a 70-20 or 70-30. Good math there, Jake. 70-30, 80-20 split in the first week, and Dameon Pierce was only getting like some first and second down. So Rex Burkhead, I still could not get higher than the high 30s in my running back ranks, Chris, because I feel like, yes, you put the slipper on, but it could, week 2, it could fall off. Week 3, it could fall. It might not fall off till week 9. I don't know why I did it in that voice, but what are you doing with Rex Burkhead? I'm trying to see where I have him ranked. If I have him higher than you, probably not. But he's still only 28% owned in Yahoo leagues. I know it's Rex Burkhead, and it doesn't seem all that appealing. But
if he was Marlon Mack, he'd be 99% owned after that game.
He really would be. Yeah, he really would be. I thought when Mack was cut that he was a great late round pick. I have him in your flex league. I picked him up when the waivers first ran for free before the season started. I think he's a decent flex guy. You know, I do agree with Brock. Like, he'll be broken in no time potentially. But I think as of right now, you're playing this guy, right? He's the veteran back. I still think you can like Dameon Pierce. I do believe he's a good buy low candidate. As for a rookie running back, he still touched the field. He still had 11 carries. Go look at some of the other rookie running backs across the league, not named Breece Hall. You know, he got a lot of work and some catches, but, some guys weren't even active, right? Tyler Algier, I think this is still his backfield to win, and over time, I believe he'll take it. But if you need a running back, you missed out on some of these waiver wire guys. You don't have Elijah, or you have Elijah, you have J.K. Dobbins. I don't know. Like, I feel like this guy could be a flex play for you. I think very similar role. Probably leads and carries. Probably plays 70% of the snaps. They're 10-point dogs against the Broncos. He's probably going to catch 5 or 6 passes, or at least get 4 or 5 targets. So I think where you got him is fair. I'm going to look it up to see where. I don't think I got him in the 4. I don't think I got him. Do you know what would happen if there was a way and we had Marlon Mack and Tony Pollard have a baby together? Do you know what would happen? Your face would melt because it would be the second coming. Like, that's how amazing it would be. You're just like Indiana Jones. You couldn't even look directly at it. You're just like, face would melt. I got him at 36. Like, it's just whatever. It's not.
That's startable conversation.
Yeah, it's flex. It's flex.
I think he checked in at like 33 on my first run over here. I'll tell you right now, and then we'll move him.
Would you buy low on Pierce?
Oh, absolutely. No question about it.
Now's the time.
All the Pierce. Yeah. So let's talk about Alvin Kamara, because Chris, this might set you up for an obvious answer. Do you want to know what player I got the most pushback on my ranks in? Like, not that I had Christian Kirk really high, not that I had, Brandon Cooks kind of low, not anything. Do you know who I got the most pushback of? Why isn't he higher?
Don't tell me it's Taysom Hill.
Taysom effing Hill, everybody. Actually, forget that. If Taysom Hill and Marlon Mack had a baby, they just the world would end. That's it. There's nothing else. Replace God. If everybody wants to pray to somebody, pray to Taysom Hill apparently because he can fix it. 4 carries, everybody. I get it, but he's not the backup quarterback anymore. This isn't like it used to be where I get it. He's tight end eligible. And I get that. I do. I really do. No joking aside. I get that. And I get the fact that he had 4 rushes for 80 or whatever yards in the touchdown. And I get the excitement if he took over at quarterback. But he's not. He's not anymore. It's now Andy Dalton. If something happens to Winston, they're turning to Andy Dalton. Taysom Hill's still going to be Taysom Hill. The reason I bring up Kamara is because we got the report after the game, thank you very much, that Kamara was dealing with a back issue. They actually brought in Devonta Freeman for a run. Actually, they brought in a lot of running backs for a run. Mark Ingram, 4.5 carries, or 4.5 yards on those 4 carries, but he looked okay out there. But Taysom Hill might be sprinkled in. He's now Debo, but I had him as a tight end too in the 20, right around 20 range. People are like, "What? Did you not see Taysom Hill last week?" And I'm like, "Seriously?" He 4 rushes. If you want to bank on 4 rushes, you know what the average of a 4 rush is, even when you're a gadget player? It's 8 yards a carry. So what, 4 for 32, and you're excited?
He went in my home league for $24. I was actually shocked. And you're never going to play him as a quarterback in Yahoo leagues. Come on, you're not going to do that. And I get Cole Kmet and Irv Smith and Njoku. Some of these trendy tight ends didn't have great weeks, but still,
we're gonna get to that.
I would much rather play Gerald Everett over him. Even Higbee. I'm not crazy about, but he.
All right, let's just do it now.
Double-digit targets.
We can get through tight ends. This is good. This loops in well. Keep going.
Kamara too. I do want to say something about Kamara that I think he's another buy low candidate. He may not finish as an RB1. He clearly has upside to be that kind of guy, but now that he has a questionable tag with a rib injury, I think now's the time to go get him if you want to. I have him ranked as RB14 this week. I do have a little bit. I do have some concerns, but they're not all about Taysom Hill. I think maybe Taysom Hill may be the biggest sell high candidate. Phil Mike says he went for $40.
Well, you would have to own him first. Well, I guess you could pick him up and immediately flip.
Flipping him right away.
Look for the people that missed the bid and immediately try to flip to them.
Oh, good call. Yeah. Because clearly
if you have fab.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you have fab.
So stick with tight ends real quick, and we'll come back because we can knock tight ends out of the way. I'm glad you brought up Everett. I like him as a stream this week. I do want to bring, you said, Irv Smith, Cole Kmet. I actually have Irv and Njoku and Kmet in the conversation of things went sideways in week 1. Irv Smith outsnapped by Munt. There's talk of whether he could be healthy, but there was also talk from Kevin O'Connell and the staff that we have situations for him. That doesn't sound like he's on the field all the time. And Njoku was out there a ton, but Brissett targeted the living hell out of Donovan Peoples-Jones. And then Cole Kmet was out there, but less than he was last year running routes, under 70% running routes last year. And granted, it's a sloppy game. Who's your biggest worry of those? Is it Irv Smith because of the talk?
Yeah, I think so. So for Munt, I think he basically doubled the snaps and maybe 16 routes run, and then Irv Smith had 15. So he was, when he was out there, he was really running routes, but he wasn't out there. That coach speak would make me think that they have plans for him potentially on 3rd down or maybe inside the red zone. But you got a guy like Justin Jefferson. He's always going to be the number 1 target in those situations, I think. And then maybe Thielen. The thing with Kmet, 21 personnel, Chicago, he didn't really get on the field in those situations. And we know that they want to run the rock, clearly, right? With all these running backs, and they didn't do anything in the draft really and through free agency to kind of help out Field. So I do have some concerns with him, but he started off slow last year as well. You mentioned the weather game. They're going to get into situations where they have to throw. They're 10-point dogs against Green Bay here, so they may throw the football a little bit more. I'm willing to give Cole Kmet the benefit of the doubt. I probably wouldn't start him this week. If you could get a Everett over him. I don't know. Do you have Taysom Hill ranked ahead of him? I probably still would play Cole Kmet over Taysom Hill.
In history forever.
But I guess I would say Irv. I guess I would honestly say the one I'm most worried about would be Njoku. I don't know. I think we won't see his true ceiling until we see Watson under center.
In front of them, so I have Kmet at 19 and Njoku 20, Irv at 21, and then sneakily right behind them is that Taysom Hill guy. Right in front of him, though, the streamers I would play, Robert Tonyan, Logan Thomas, people still played pretty well in his first game back.
Yeah.
To be Hayden Hurst saw a little bit more than I expected, and especially I'm more on Hayden Hurst if there's no T. Higgins. I'd probably knock him down behind Logan Thomas and Robert Tonyan if there is. I still think Evan Ingram's in play. Caught all 4 of his targets. Caught all 4. He didn't drop a single one. So there you go. And then, of course, you get up to the Dawson Knox, Tyler Higbees, Everett's of the world and stuff like that. So, all right.
What about Alberto?
No.
Alberto's not a bad streaming option.
No.
He had 6 targets, 1 in the red zone.
And they have 17 tight ends that they want to use. No.
Russ doesn't like wide receivers. He didn't like them in the first quarter of that Monday Night Football game. Man, that was a wild game.
Yeah, I have no idea what the hell was going on with that one. All right, so back
I would
to
play him
backs.
over Komet, anyways.
Who? Alberto?
Over Komet this week, I would, yeah.
Nah, whatever. You're chasing a touchdown, so I have no problem with it. Yeah, so there's no problem with it.
Yeah.
So back to running backs. Michael Carter over Breece Hall for week 1. This is kind of a matchup situation that we were expecting. What about week 2? Are we doing this? Yeah. We're doing. Well, all right. Here, I'll give you my ranks. I know you're so. I could keep setting you up and then stopping you.
I think it might be. I think it might be Breece week. I don't know.
Well, and that's where I'm going. This is now this game. It's the Cleveland Browns, and what do the Cleveland Browns do? Run, grind out the clock. Game should be closer. I don't think it was anybody expecting the Browns and the Panthers to be as scoring as they were last week. But, hey, maybe we were wrong completely. But Michael Carter at least gets the passing game work. Breece Hall, not so much so yet, but it could set up more, as you were just saying. So are you Breece Hall over Michael Carter this week? I'm still Carter over Hall because of the passing game work.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco.
I'd say that's probably correct. Yeah, so he's going to chuck 50 more times. Probably not, because you're right. It'll be a slower paced game. I'd say Carter, ahead of. I think I got him 1 spot. I get these guys neck and neck, really. I was impressed that with Hall, how much usage he got in the passing game as well. I mean, he got a ton, just like Carter, and it makes me feel like Breece Hall is really going to be a bell cow back in the league. I think when he overtakes Carter, the fact that he got all that usage through the air right away, and he overtakes him as the first and second down guy, maybe the red zone guy, I think he's another guy that I would really buy low on because I think he can overtake Carter over time. But yeah, it's probably Carter for now. Yeah, I heard the report on Sunday morning that he's the heartbeat of the offense or whatever. I don't believe that. Maybe right now, but over time, we both like Carter, but Breece Hall's a better talent. He's gonna overtake him. But this week, if you had both, and somebody does have both, one guy on Mean Streets asked me which guy you should start. He has both. You can get in trouble with that all year long. I'd probably say Carter for now, but Hall next week maybe.
I don't mind the both if they're the best options out there. I mean, both worked last year for the Broncos, and could work again if they didn't both fumble at the goal line. So it could work
in the past.
Yeah, don't really want to, but the reason I try to steer away from it is to leave yourself with one fewer decision. Just when you're in that situation, you're kind of adding a factor that's not normally in there. Normally you're I should just play the best option. But if it's a close best option, it's do I just want to split it to avoid having teammates? So that's why I try to avoid it. And speaking of checking in at my ranks so far, the first run, 31 is Devin Singletary, 32 ETN, 33 James Robinson. I know James Robinson looked great, and there'll be people that say he needs to be in front, but it's Indianapolis. And again, now where am I thinking from this? Well, ETN in the first half almost doubled James Robinson in snaps, and it reversed course in the second half. That was a game they were in contention the entire time. I don't know if they're going to have as much success against the Colts, although the Colts, obviously, just first week. The Colts pulled the Colts. The Colts are week 1 opposite Sammy Watkins. They're bizarro Sammy Watkins, although Watkins finally didn't do anything in week 1. They just find ways to look like utter crap in week 1. Why?
Moving forward in your Survivor, because
my buddy of mine texted me, and he goes, I don't know why I keep picking them in week 1, parlays and Survivor or anything like that, but being the Colts, they got that out of the way. It's done. It's over. It's week 2, and it's the Jaguars. I think this is going to be more of a 50-50 because I see, again, this goes back to Carter and Hall. I think this is a very similar situation, and that's why I go ETN narrowly over James Robinson. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's James Robinson. Which would you go with, ETN or James Robinson?
I would go with Robinson, but they're really close. I think I have them neck and neck as well. I would just go with Robinson because of what you said in the second half. maybe it was just, he hadn't played because of the Achilles injury, and let's just ease him in. And then he looked pretty good, right? He had a receiving touchdown as well. ETN's another guy that I think is a pretty good buy low candidate, but I would go Robinson because I feel like he's going to get more touches. He's going to get a few more carries, but it's not the best matchup. And I think
I don't like Shaq
Leonard will probably, I think he's probably going to be back.
Which is why I want the guy running more routes. Not that Leonard doesn't cover that, but
and I think
Leonard's more of a threat to the run than he is to the pass.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
You have to when you break it down like that, you have to do this, just so you know.
And
that's how you break.
And they probably won't live and they probably won't live inside the goal line too often in this game. But I do expect Robinson to be the goal line back, in this offense.
Phil just mentioned the one thing that Pat said to me yesterday is Pat was saying if ETN catches that touchdown, we might not even be having the James Robinson conversation.
And there was another play that he had too that was called back. I think it was like an 18 or 19-yard reception. So he's definitely going to be involved through the air. Like this is a guy. I mean, Jacksonville's going to be playing from behind quite often. He's going to be a guy that I'd say he definitely catches like 35 balls this year.
Okay,
I'd say that.
Let's get 2 more running back situations, and then we'll talk some wide receivers. Another split backfield, maybe, because through week 1. You know who's the king of the doghouse is Cam Akers. We've already covered him Monday, covered him in the Warrior Report. Yes, like the cover. But, so my question for you is, I have Daryl Henderson as an RB2. I have Cam Akers in the 40s, as in you can't start him yet. Would it shock me if this immediately flips? No. But there is no way on earth you can start him as such. Is Henderson too high to be an RB2? Like, is RB2 level too high for Henderson given the risk? And it's not just the risk of Cam Akers. It's that offensive line and how bad it looked in week 1.
It looked awful. I have some major concerns about the offensive line. I think it's fair. I'm looking at your rankings now. Montgomery, Zeke after him, Cordero. I'd probably play some of those guys ahead of Henderson, but
Cordero's going to go up for real quick. Cordero's going to go up, but Damian Williams is officially out.
Yeah, and it definitely looked like they were going to. I believe those reports that they were going to roll with Damian quite a bit. I mean, Algier was.
Damian was out there quite a bit.
He was, and Cordero played really good, but they clearly like Damian. I think it's fine. Another team that's 10-point favorites here, the Rams, you figure they bounce back against the Falcons. There's a couple of goal line opportunities there, and I'd imagine Henderson gets those, but I can see it now, man. Cam Akers, everyone's going to freak out. Cam Akers is going to start this game. He's going to have a nice run.
Sanders just said it. He's going to have 30 points on everybody's bench this week.
Oh, my goodness. As another, I don't know if I'd buy. I'd definitely check in, but I'd hold. But you said it. You can't start him. You just can't take the risk.
Buy ETN, buy Akers. Just take
a lot of these guys that we're talking about. Yeah,
the perception too is that you're getting a discount here. So the last one to talk about running backs is Montgomery got a lot of use, but there's another thing Pat talked about when I was on the show yesterday, and he's right. It was essentially 2 series for Montgomery, 1 for Herbert, 2 for Montgomery, 1 for Herbert, 2 for Montgomery. Like they didn't really change. Does that change your feelings of Montgomery as an RB2? It's weird. You could take it both ways. You could just say, well, he's always going to get 66% of the work, so move him up. Or you could say, well, what if one series falters and then Herbert comes in on the good series, move him down? So which way did you go? Because for me, you know how I felt. Like I always thought this was going to be a 60-40 backfield. I was off by 6.7%. But I've kind of been like lower on Montgomery and higher on Herbert than most, so this doesn't really affect me. So where does this have any effect for you?
None. I agree. I've been in that same camp too. I thought Herbert was a great pick outside the top 40 at the running back position. He looks more explosive, and he got 2 goal line carries, and Montgomery didn't get any. And when that game was on the line towards the end of the game, it was Herbert who's running it in from inside the 10 and who found a way to get inside the end zone. I like this guy. And there were some reports in the offseason that Montgomery just doesn't fit what they want to do. I know they want to run the rock, but he doesn't fit the zone schemes that, they have plans for. So I have less faith today in Montgomery as like a very low end RB2. I don't know if I'm starting Herbert, but man, this guy should definitely be rostered. Man, it's just going to be a mess. You also have another quarterback who's a rushing quarterback who can call his own number inside the 10 as well. So I would not buy low on Montgomery. I'd be looking to have Khalil Herbert on my roster.
So let's talk the Washington Commanders and Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson looks great for his first NFL game, and Curtis Samuel is back. Curtis Samuel getting some runs out of the backfield. Hey, he's Deebo Samuel. It's actually really not, because he was actually catching passes too. I had Dotson over Samuel. I continue to have Dotson over Samuel when we talked waivers. I got some pushback on Samuel because it's like, well, didn't you see the first week? It's like, no, I didn't watch a single game. I didn't watch a lick of anything. Curtis Samuel, my concern is that his use is like 90% slot and 3 wide. Not that Washington's not going to run plenty of 3 wide, but that's just why I have him in who's very similar. What do we just see as one of the best case scenarios for a player in that situation? Tyler Boyd last year. Tyler Boyd was still a wide receiver 40-ish something. And yes, he had some weeks of wide receiver 2, even wide receiver 1 production. He's playing with Joe Burrow, and he's Tyler Boyd. So I put Curtis Samuel kind of in that same conversation. I'm starting Dotson over Samuel unless they start to significantly really treat him like Deebo, but not losing the passing game Deebo version, as in you're still going to run routes, you're still going to get 4, 5, 6 targets a game, but you're also going to get 4, 5, 6 rushes. Then I'd move him up, but I need to see more than just the 1 week little sample of the smidge of the backfield work.
Yeah, it was a great first game. We hadn't seen him in years. It was a great first game. He had that last season in Carolina when he was rushing, I think he finished as like wide receiver 26 or 27, and he signed that big contract. We haven't seen him. It was, like I said, it was a great first game, but he was still behind McLaurin and Dotson in terms of snaps and targets and routes run. Like he was, well, maybe not targets because he did get a lot of targets, but Dotson was out there running more routes than him. He was actually pretty much neck and neck with Terry McLaurin. I think he has the higher ceiling. We saw 2 touchdowns from him. Saw Carson Wentz go to him inside the end zone. I think if you're in a full point PPR league, maybe you can play him over Dotson, but I'm with you. I'm going to have Dotson ranked ahead of him all year long. And Curtis Samuel was the most added in Yahoo leagues as of this morning, and Dotson was like down around 9 or 10. So people are really jumping on Samuel here, but I not that it's a mistake, but I think the higher ceiling belongs with Dotson for sure.
Okay, well then we have a trio of wide receivers. Michael Thomas is back, baby. We talked about it on Monday. Jarvis Landry went bananas in week 1.
Man,
people are panicking about Chris Olave. There's another one. Hodor. And on top of it, I mean, long-term ceiling is clearly Olave. We've seen Landry be Landry. So, though it's week 2, that hasn't happened yet. Exactly. My pecking order is Michael Thomas, top 20 wide receiver. Jarvis Landry in play as a wide receiver 3, but Olave kind of a Hail Mary type.
Yep. Wait and see. Just wait and see. Be patient. Like you said, it's a long-term play with some of these rookie wide receivers. They're learning the playbook. They're just new to the league. It was nice to see him get a target inside the red zone. There was a 2-point convo, I think, that he converted. So he's on the radar. But did
you just shorten conversion into convo, like a conversation into convo? Like he had a 2-point conversation in the end zone with somebody else.
I did. I shorted it out for you guys.
To the wrong shorting.
Man, Landry's good.
I love those conversations they have in the end zone about 2 points.
Converted convo. I think Landry's good. I think Landry's great. I wouldn't be shocked if Landry was. He's not going to keep this up. I think he could be a flex play week in and week out.
Landry's in the huddle like, hey, man, we should go for 2 points at some point. You think? What do you think?
Yeah, you think?
2 points? Ban that kicker.
It's an easy completion for.
That's what you're saying. Jarvis Landry is team ban kickers. That's we didn't. Who knew? Who knew?
He is
2-point conversions all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
let's
start for that reason alone.
Yes. So this is interesting. I am team Robbie Anderson. I am victory lapping that. There's another Batten joke yesterday. 80% we get right. The 20% is what everybody wants to focus on that we got wrong. Cam Akers, Amari Cooper, whatever. I'm feeling good about Robbie Anderson because I saw him picked up in a lot of leagues, and I have him in a lot of leagues. And people were listening were like, hey, don't forget, 2 years ago, neck and neck with DJ Moore. I'm not bringing up Robbie Anderson and be like, hey, whatever. I think Robbie Anderson is still a wide receiver 4. There's still risk. I'm not putting him in the 3 conversation yet. No. However, talk about a buy low. People are full on panicking about DJ Moore after 1 week. And what did I say to you this offseason, Chris? Like, I felt insane because for years I was like, this is what I was getting. People were saying to me, you hate DJ Moore. You have him as wide receiver 18. I'm like, he just finishes as wide receiver 18 every damn year. 1,100 yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns every damn year. And this year I pushed him up a little bit because of Baker Mayfield. I had him like 14, 15. And people are like, why are you high on DJ Moore? And I'm like, what the hell's that going on?
You can't win. You can't
so
win.
But DJ Moore is like one of the best buy lows, right? It's still effing DJ Moore, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe the biggest is Mike Williams, and I think everyone knows that. He's probably the biggest buy low at the wide receiver position. Alvin Robinson in there as well.
Six games of fewer than 7 points, 4 games with 2 or 1 receptions last year. This is Mike Williams brings this to the table.
Yeah, he's very boomer bust, absolutely. Yeah, DJ Moore, I don't know. I saw people on social too. Oh, I thought DJ Moore was going to be better because he got a better quarterback. Like, guys, it's one game. It's one game. It's the first NFL game with Baker Mayfield, new quarterback. Like, let's give it a bit of time. He's a really good wide receiver. The problem is, you said, he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. He's 5th in the NFL in yards over the last 3 years. 5th overall with elite wide receivers, but he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. He doesn't score those touchdowns that Kupp has scored, that Adams have scored. Kelsey's in there as well. Diggs. These guys scored touchdowns. Unfortunately, DJ Moore doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. Maybe that will change. I don't know. I don't see him as a big red zone threat. And when they get in there, you got CMC. But I think Robbie will just be a 4. I think he's going to be high and low too. There's definitely a higher ceiling with DJ Moore. But maybe there's more touchdown appeal with Robbie Anderson.
And I have DJ Moore at 22 this week, mostly because of what happened to Robert Woods, and he's getting no Dory Jackson. The only good there's some decent safeties and corners for the Giants, but like the one true standout is Dory Jackson. Dory Jackson's probably going to spend a lot of times like he just was with Robert Woods last week. And so if that's the case, that's where I'm heading for that one. A few more here I really want to get to. Julio Jones, Russell Gage. Let's talk about Chris Godwin. Different injury. Could have kind of been related, similar to like was trying to compensate for the injury coming off of, and that's what led to it. Whatever would it be? Chris Godwin's out for a few weeks. Julio Jones ran fast. He's got his burst back. Although I butt cheeks clench every single time he went to the ground. Like, I mean, I seriously I thought twice he got hurt. Yes, because I was like, oh my God. Like, really, Julio, chill out, man. Like, you know.
He laid out for one, and then he had a hard time getting up. I'm like, oh no, he's laying out for Tom.
He was pulling the Mike Williams. You don't have to throw your body to the ground every time. Like, take it. Let's go spend some time with Marvin Harrison and learn how to just like step out of bounds or like take it easy on your body. But Russell Gage is working his way back from an injury. This is what I said in the waiver column, and this is how I'm treating them in ranks. And let's see if you agree with me on this, Chris. I have Julio Jones as a wide receiver 3. I'm not really going to change on that. I know Julio Jones could finish top 12, especially if he caught a touchdown or 2. But where I see this is I feel like Russell Gage has the bigger room to improve off of week 1. Like, I think Julio Jones is going to be right in that 25 to 35 range every single week. But Russell Gage was pretty much irrelevant in his first game back. But the excitement of Russell Gage and what he brings to what is the void now by Chris Godwin. It's not Julio Jones. Julio Jones just played Julio Jones even with Godwin out there. Gage is filling the Godwin role. Not that he's going to be Godwin. But I could see both of them being in the 25 to 35 range, and that's why I think Gage is the more interesting for the ceiling over what he was.
Yeah. And when Gage was signed, and I think people were super excited about him early on because they thought Godwin was going to miss, significant time, right? I thought they were going to cut into each other playing in the slot and things like that. But now with Godwin missing some time, Gage certainly has the opportunity. This week, I would go Julio.
Yeah.
Again, you're getting into a bit of a trap with Julio because, I think it is close as well. What we still know about Tom, I mean, the offense definitely struggled in that first game, but credit to the Cowboys defense. Like, it's still a pretty solid defense and get pressure off the quarterback. This matchup is it's a little bit easier. Brady struggled against the Saints in the regular season over a short course of being in Tampa for a couple of years, but it is close. And don't be shocked if Gage, like if you're playing DFS, I think he could be that sneaky play. Julio will have a higher ownership, but
I'm going to ask you the question I got.
Brady definitely was thrown to Julio early.
Well, Julio's getting open with that speed.
If he can, if he can stay healthy, he might be able to be a wide receiver 4 this year.
But can he, Chris? Because I'll give you the question that I got asked. I saw week 1. Is Tom Brady done?
We've been here before, haven't we? I mean, again, he's 45, but how many times have you and I had this conversation after the first?
He hasn't played since last year.
Has a history of, starting really slow, even when he was elite at the top of his game. But guys, he finished with the most passing yards and passing touchdowns last season. Let's not say that he's done, right? I think he's in a better situation than Aaron Rodgers. So he's got weapons. They're going to chuck. The conference is garbage. He's going to have his high games, his high games. Actually, what was I referenced this in it was the worry report. Let me just go to the worry report because we didn't get to this yesterday. I actually looked back at the games, and he had 4 games of this score or worse last year, and then 2 games which he barely outscored that week 1 last year. That's 6 games in this range of outcomes last year. Well, that's the problem when he doesn't run.
He still finished as QB2.
Right. When he exactly. I remember a couple games, maybe not last year, the year before, we had 2 fantasy points and things like that. That's the thing. He doesn't run. When you got a guy like Trey Lance who has a dud game, he still gets you double-digit fantasy points because he ran the ball 13 times. Where if Tom is not throwing touchdowns, then he's going to have an average week for you. But the ceiling is still very high.
So let's talk Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers since you brought him up. What are we doing wide receiver? Here's what I'm doing. I have Allen Lazard in as now. Right, yeah. Of course, that could change. This is Wednesday. Plenty of time to change, and I'll update. If Allen Lazard's in, I'm playing him. I'm playing him. I've been on the team Allen Lazard. Is like I'm playing him as a wide receiver 3, if not with more ceiling. Of course, the risk is that it's the first game, and coming off the injury, whatever it might be, that was kind of mysterious in the preseason. Anyway, after him, I'm going Watson because I'm following the usage, and I'm following the fact that what did we talk about before? Despite the fact of Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs being the first games played, that Sammy Watkins barely outsnapped and outran routes over Watson, Dobbs, Cobb, and all the rest of them, and that they still went back to Watson after that ugly wide open drop, and they still went back to him. I feel like Watson's number 2, and then after that, Dobbs, but I don't really even want to mess around after that. But if there is no Lazard, maybe you can get me on Dobbs.
No, I can't. Watson is going to be
even with no Lazard, you can't do Dobbs?
Maybe, but I'd rather Watson. Like if there's no Lazard, fine.
Oh, of course. No. There's no question. Watson 1. Well, 2. 1, 2.
Yeah. I think Watson's going to be a league winner. I really do. The fact that you just said it. He played 1 fewer snap than Sammy, who led the way. He had a team high in terms of targets or routes run with Aaron Jones. He had a carry. They wanted to get him involved. They had that deep shot that you mentioned. 4 targets, 1 behind Dobbs. Like, if he catches that pass, we're looking at him so differently. He's the talking point of fantasy football across the board. That's all we're talking about. Watson. He had a nice little, it was kind of like a go route, but he turned inside out and outside and his speed was gone. He reminds me of a little mini Mike Evans. He really does. His big body, he's got some speed. It was just like some jitters. That's it. It was a drop. I don't believe that Rodgers.
Not Jeff Janis.
And I know the narrative. Oh, Rodgers not going to throw to him anymore. Rodgers hates this guy. Rodgers, all he's actually done is talk up this guy and how impressive he has been in camp for missing a lot of camp due to a knee injury. Dobbs got all the attention throughout training camp, and it really wasn't even Rodgers throwing the football to him. It was like Jordan Love, with some of those fades. So I am completely in on Watson. He's only owned in 12% of Yahoo leagues right now. Guys, go and get him. If you don't feel like starting him, fine, don't start him. But I'm telling you, man, this guy I think he's in for a nice season. I think he'd be a wide receiver 3.
So I almost forgot. I almost got through the entire show and forgot to tell people how to win the Xbox Series X. So
oh my goodness.
Here's a reminder. I've got a lot of your entries so far. I know. I've got a lot of your entries so far. I've got a lot of the entries of the people who are following the directions, because if you're getting me at Twitter or if you're getting the FTN account on Twitter, you're not following the directions because I don't see all of them, which is why these are the directions. Very simple, everybody out there. If you haven't seen before, I'm going to run through it quicker than yesterday because there's 3 steps, quickly done. Subscribe on YouTube, screenshot. Give a 5-star review with whatever you want to say, even if you love Meaney, if you love Lauren and hate me, do it on iTunes, screenshot, and subscribe. It's a screenshot, subscribe, and review on iTunes. So that's actually a double down. So I guess technically 4. And then 3rd is just make sure you're following the FTN account, FTN Fantasy at Twitter, and screenshot those 3 things, technically 4. Email me, Ciely, first letter, last name at theathletic.com. Email me the screenshots. Don't Twitter them because I might not see them, so I'm trying to help you. Let's get out of here with a few more things. Whose bad situation isn't maybe as bad as I'm ranking them? I have Brandon Cooks as a low-end wide receiver, too, because did you not just see what happened to DK Metcalf? And I know it's Geno Smith, but let's already respect that matchup as in Patrick Surtain is legitimately a problem. On top of that, Amari Cooper didn't get the volume I expected him to get. Donovan Peoples-Jones did. CeeDee Lamb had the volume, but Dak couldn't even get on the same page, and now it's Cooper Rush. Or Darnell Mooney, when the offense doesn't throw to anybody more than 3 times. Granted, the weather, you have to play that factor. Yeah. But Cooks, Cooper, Lamb, Mooney, do you want to make a case that any of them should be inside my top 20?
Not really. Maybe Cooks, just because we like Cooks, and he still had a lot of volume and targets. DK was interesting. It was a lot of short yardage throws. There was a lot of bubble screens with him. He did get a lot of targets. And again, going back to last year, I guess I will say DK probably still has that highest ceiling out of those guys because Geno went to him, and then we have that sample from last year. 4 games of Geno Smith, 5 touchdowns. He averaged 6.8 fantasy points more with Geno than with Russ. Very small sample, but what did we see week 1? He's clearly the guy for Geno. Tyler Lockett is not going to work out for Tyler Lockett this year. He's going to be way more bust games than boom games. So I can't make the case for any of them top 20 though.
Okay,
they're all really good wide receivers in very bad situations right now.
Then I need you to make a case for one of these 3 to have the better bounce back week. Allen Robinson got bracketed to death.
Did he ever?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and for people out there, when I say separation, he was separating from defenders. He wasn't separating from coverage. I get that distinction might have been a little bit unclear, but there was nowhere to throw the ball to him. So who's the bigger bounce back? Allen Robinson, get-right game at home against Falcons. Adam Thielen, who's kind of left out of the equation. I mean, Justin Jefferson did everything. Or your boy, that I didn't see anybody talk about, which is really surprising. Nobody made a whisper on Devonta Smith doing nothing in week 1. So Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen, Devonta Smith, who bounces back the biggest in week 2?
I would say Robinson. I just feel like Stafford will force it to him this time. I saw them chatting towards the end of the game, and I saw almost every route run. I forget who tweeted it, and you're right. I mean, it was they doubled him. They were almost like, you know what? We're just gonna let Cooper Kupp beat us. We're just gonna be all over Allen Robinson. We'll figure out Cooper Kupp, but he was still on the field just as much, running a similar amount of routes. So I would say him. AJ or Hurts really loves him some AJ. There was a 20-yard catch that Devontae had, and it was called back. And Thielen probably, I mean, there's some questions about the Eagles secondary. It didn't look all that great. So Thielen may score a touchdown, but I'd say Robinson bounces back. I'm concerned about Devontae. I am. You can check in on the owner and probably he has a 0 and it's all AJ. You can probably get him for almost nothing at this point, but I'd say Robinson with the bounce back against the Falcons. He scores a touchdown this week.
Yeah, and for Mr. Nice Guy, Cooper Rush played okay if you like the intermediate short game, which maybe is the offset argument of Amari Cooper, but I think they're both in the same. Actually, I still have Lamb significantly in front of Amari Cooper now at this point, but that was my argument for Amari Cooper. I mean, the volume should offset it, but the volume wasn't there through. I'm not panicking too much over 1 week, but hell, when Donovan Peoples-Jones wasn't running 40 yards downfield, which is the entire thing of he's not even going to be in the equation. And it's Donovan Peoples-Jones is no, I'm just going to sit in the 10 to 15 yards. Screw you, Jake.
I know. And the one thing about Dallas too,
it's he listened to me.
Dak struggled big time.
I know.
Before that
he didn't look good before the injury.
And now you got to throw Cooper Rush in there with that offensive line depleted. Yeah,
I mean,
be a long year
again, maybe get the ball out quicker, shorter, because he doesn't wait as long. I don't know. All right, then let's get out of here with this. A little bit over on the time, but the quarterback, if you had to play one of these 3, Murray off a bad game, Stafford off a bad game, or Carson Wentz off a great game, partly due to his own interceptions, because he kind of, for all intents and purposes, Carson Wentz basically pulled your boy from last year. I'm having a brain fart now. Beowulf. What the hell's his name? Gardner Minshew.
Oh, Gardner Minshew.
He's Gardner Minshew out there. So
he's your
Are we still going Kyler Murray?
Yeah, I think so. I have a hard time playing Wentz over him. I think Wentz is, I think he's kind of startable. I think he has upside to be a top 15 quarterback maybe this week. Matchup's okay. But, I think you got to go Kyler. I think just the upside. But
okay.
Didn't look good.
Well, You guys got to go out there. Look, if you want to tweet at Chris Meaney, at Online Kid, more so check my rankings to answer Noah's confidence question on Joshua Palmer. Yes. As a wide receiver 3? Oh, yes. I am, yes. I am on that if Keenan Allen is out.
Keenan is no-go, but I'd say flex still.
And I love some Gerald Everett as a streamer. He's tight end. You're just chasing streaming tight ends. Stop carrying 15 tight ends. Like, if you're in that conversation of Gerald Everett's, Irv Smith's, with it, just pick one and play the matchups, whatever it might be. But play the game. Enter the contest for the Xbox Series X. Follow FTN, Chris, myself, Lauren, over there at The Athletic. We'll be back on Monday for reviews. Good luck in week 2. Hopefully it's better than week 1.